What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I want to go over what a perfect offseason, in my opinion, would look like for this guy right here, GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I got 5 steps that we're going to go through in depth on today's show. But before we dive into it, if you guys could help me out here. So my bosses challenged us here at Vikings Now to pick up 20 subscribers on today's show. So if you guys haven't already and are brand new to what we do here at Chat Sports at Vikings Now, please help us out. Hit that subscribe button, lock us in, and you guys will get a Vikings video on your YouTube page every single day of the offseason. Any news, any rumors, any reports we get, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP. So hit that subscribe button if you guys have not already. All right, let's dive into it. Number 1 of my perfect offseason plan, I'm going to go, you got to let Sam Darnold walk. Now, I got caught up in the prisoner of the moment. After that Packers game, I kept saying, how could you let a guy like Sam Darnold out the door? He has played tremendous football, and, he truly was playing at a top 8 level heading into the last 2 weeks of the season. That is undisputable. All the stats, even the eye test, speak to that. But I think with how the Vikings, team is set up here, there are a multitude of reasons on why to let Darnold go. So I'm going to go through 4 real quick. I think what was exposed in the Rams and Lions game was just that the roster needs to improve. We know the issues at the interior offensive line. They got their butts handed to them against the Rams. That young front four that they have were completely dominant in that game. But also, you could use, more help at the cornerback position. You could obviously, use some help at the running back position if Aaron Jones walks. And if you're going to allocate $40+ million, even if you tag him at $41 million to Sam Darnold, I think that would be organizational malpractice. I don't think that would be a good decision at all. So, number 1, the roster just needs to improve. And then also, if the Vikings, if you have Super Bowl aspirations here, Sam Darnold hasn't played good in big games. Now, what was so funny was, the Packers game, obviously in Week 17, that was a big one. Division rival, coming to your own building. You have a chance to pretty much kill all of their hope of getting a 5 seed at the time. And Darnold went for 377. But when the lights were the brightest, that Week 18 Week 18 game versus the Lions, and then that wild card game versus the Rams, he was terrible. He looked like he had the yips. He was sailing passes. He had no pocket presence, no confidence in himself. And would you really want to put, heading into the next season, if the Vikings would replicate what they did, winning 14 games, and even if they get a home playoff game, would you feel confident in Sam Darnold being under center, even if he replicated what he did last season? Probably not. And also, if you pay a quarterback $40+ million, it just limits the ceiling of your team. It limits the amount of talent you could have around that QB spot. It also speaks to, I think, the Vikings' perfect plan, a couple years ago was you get that young rookie quarterback, hopefully he plays at a top 12 level, and you have a kind of San Francisco 49ers roster-esque around him of just elite blue chippers at premium positions. And then also, I don't know how likely this is anymore, but you could always just throw the tag on Darnold and try to trade him. I don't know if you could do that, anymore, but, those are 4 reasons that I would let Darnold go. And actually, the quarterback odds for the Vikings have shifted in J.J. McCarthy's favor, where he is now -200 to be the starting quarterback next season. So I think that's pretty telling. But number 2, and this kind of connects with number 1 here. Why do you let Sam Darnold walk? Because you can go big in free agency. Right now, the Vikings are supposed to have $78 million to spend this season in free agency. Obviously, got to, use some of those to pay this upcoming draft class. But I think the Vikings, if I had to call it, they're going to go big on offensive linemen during this free agency period. And the 2 guys you see on the far left of your screen are the guys that I want. Trey Smith, Drew Dalman. Trey Smith, one of the better offensive guards in the league, has not allowed a sack this entire season, entering the prime of his career. Robert Hunt, big-time offensive guard, free agent last year, got 5 years, $100 million. I would even be cool if the Vikings given Trey Smith $5 million more than that. Maybe you sign him to a 4-year, $100 million deal. And then how about center Drew Dalman? Had a great season with the Atlanta Falcons, has been really on that uptick trajectory over the past couple of years, and he's 26 years old. He would be an ideal free agent target for the Vikings. Get J.J. McCarthy, that's center of the future. But those are 5 names: DJ Reed, Ryan Kelly, Patrick McCarry. Keep your eyes out on those guys as well. And, I can, let's just say the Vikings do sign Trey Smith, 4 years, even $110 million, where it's a complete overpay. I would love that. I would love to have every other NFL fan being like, man, the Vikings really overpaid for some offensive linemen. I don't care. I am 25 years old, and I think only once in my life I was confident in the Vikings offensive line. And I just think having a really good offensive line in late in the postseason, late in the regular season, it really matters so much. It's very similar to having a strong bullpen in baseball. So I would love for them to overpay for some offensive linemen. Then if you do go all in on offensive linemen during free agency, then you can start shifting your attention to the draft for other premium spots, like the cornerback position, like the running back position. I think there's just multiple ways to do this, but that's ideally where I would go. Go big in free agency on offensive line. And gets me to number 3, draft a running back in this year's class. And this year's class is absolutely loaded. So we'll go through 5 names here real quickly, and starting off with the guy that was a runner-up for the Heisman Award, Ashton Jeanty. Now, Jeanty, I don't think he is the level of prospect like a Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley was coming out, but he's still a top-end talent. I would be more than fine if the Vikings take him at pick number 24. But there's also some other guys you could take even later on in the first round, like a Mario Hampton, physical, fast running back from North Carolina. I think he's a great choice. And then a guy already in the Midwest, Caleb Johnson. He doesn't have the burst as a guy like Hampton does, but he is a tremendous running back, great vision. He finds the holes very, very well, and he's also an elite pass catcher too. And I know Kevin O'Connell would want to, utilize that in his offense. But how about Cam Scadaboo? This dude put on one of the best performances in college football history against Texas. Physical guy, and theme this offseason I'm gonna be saying all the time is the Vikings just need to draft more physical players. Well, a guy that would change pretty much your offensive identity to a finesse football team to a physical football team would be Cam Scadaboo. Now, if you guys want to go the burner route, this guy's projected to run a 4.35 40-yard dash. Running back from the Tennessee Volunteers, Dylan Sampson. Now, this would be a later pick, but I would love this pick. This guy's a freak athlete, man. Go turn on his tape. He is fantastic, and I think it would be a great scheme fit with what Kevin O'Connell wants to do here. But those are 5 running backs, and pretty much my take here, if Jeanty's there at 24, you have to take him. But if he's not, maybe you trade back and get one of those guys like a Mario Hampton or Caleb Johnson in the 2nd or 3rd round. But I'll ask you guys this. What is the biggest position of need for the Vikings this offseason? For me, I think it's obvious. I think it's interior offensive lineman, but maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you guys want to go a different direction, but you guys let me know. What is the biggest position of need for the Vikings this offseason? Now we'll get into 2 more steps on my perfect offseason plan, but first off, I got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. If you guys download the PrizePicks app today and plug in that promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in that promo code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, what is PrizePicks? PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You're trying to make a Timberwolves wild game more interesting. PrizePicks is the number 1 way to do so, because even if the game's a blowout, you guys can follow your PrizePicks lineup throughout the entire event. So download the app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to PrizePicks, though, for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, number 4, we're going back to the draft here, and let's just draft a cornerback, because let's just say Jeanty's off the board at 24, and you may be looking at taking a cornerback in the first round. So I got 5 guys here, and I did leave off Travis Hunter on this list, mainly because there's just no chance he's on the board, even close to 15, let alone 24. But Will Johnson's supposed to be a top 10 pick. Maybe the Vikes get aggressive, trade up for him, but he's a very, very talented football player, great instincts, very sticky in coverage. I think he's the second best corner in this class by far. But my guy, Benjamin Morrison, now he's supposed to be going just inside the top 20, around that 18 to 22 range. So maybe he's not there at 24, but if he is, this guy is elite. He will be a true cornerback, one for a group. And if he's there at 24 with Jeanty, I would have a tough decision deciding who I'd want to draft. But some other guys, Trey Amos, cornerback from Ole Miss, Siobhan Ravel Jr., DB from East Carolina, and then Mansour Delane, a cornerback from Virginia Tech. All 3 of these guys, high potential, very athletic. I, again, would love for the Vikings to, target a cornerback in this year's draft. But speaking about a cornerback the Vikings should sign in free agency, it's actually the dude already on your roster. It's Byron Murphy. Bring back Murph. I think it needs to happen. He had a great second half of the season. He's a ball hawk. I mean, the amount of fourth quarter interceptions this guy had, he was truly a difference maker for Brian Flores and this defense. And he's coming off getting his first Pro Bowl nod in 2024. He's on the kind of upward trajectory on his career. I think the Vikings, I would prefer them to re-sign Byron Murphy than a guy like Cam Bynum, in my opinion, because I think it's just easier to find safeties than it is to find corners, especially nowadays in the NFL. But re-sign Byron Murphy in free agency, then go draft another cornerback, then maybe you sign a vet guy, even bring back Stephon Gilmore for a 1 year, $2 million deal, whatever it is. And you also have Mekhi Blackman coming off that torn ACL. So, the Vikings have a bunch of different avenues on how they could address the cornerback position. But how I would do it, you re-sign Byron Murphy, and then you go target corner, whether that's in the first round or, third or fifth for the Vikes. But number 5 for me, and I think this is an obvious one for most of us, it's just extend Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Now, I have been critical of Kevin O'Connell over the past, couple of days, just because how this season ended, I didn't think he did a great job of putting Sam Darnold in a position to succeed. Because if we are going to give Kevin O'Connell all the praise when Sam Darnold plays well, we also got to criticize him when Sam Darnold plays the way he did over the last 2 weeks. But Kevin O'Connell, since he started being the coach for the Minnesota Vikings, he's instilled a great culture. He has been a great head coach. Really, I would be shocked if the Vikings don't extend him. But in terms of Kwesi, I know a lot of people like to harp on him, and his drafts, and they haven't been good whatsoever. I mean, you got to think about it. In 3 drafts so far, really only Jordan Addison is really the only impact player. Jalen Naylor maybe in the 6th round, but he has been money in free agency. I mean, picking up Grenard, Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman this past offseason, those are great moves. Plus his UDFA class of Ivan Pace, even a guy like Gabe Murphy. I like both those picks. Hopefully Dallas Turner takes a step up, but I think Kwesi deserves an extension. If I had to call it, because you would want to have KOC and Kwesi on the same timeline, I could see them both getting 4-year extensions this offseason, but I think it would be pretty much a disaster if they don't extend them. And then Kevin O'Connell's coaching the whole next season without a contract for the year after. He could just walk and leave, go somewhere else if the Wolves aren't willing to pay him. But the Wolves, they're a great ownership group. I guarantee you they would be all in on paying Kwesi this offseason. But here again is my 5-step plan for a perfect Vikings offseason. You let Sam Darnold walk, and then you take all that money that you wouldn't be paying Darnold. You go big in free agency. Then you target running back and cornerback in the draft. And then you extend Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell. That's how I would do it. A lot of different avenues on how you can handle this offseason for the Vikes. But, hey, get down in the comment section. Back to school time for you guys. Grade my offseason plan here. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down below in the comment section. We'll see you guys next time. As always, let's go Vikes.